Hey everyone, I'm S.H.A.Z.A.M, and this week we are getting a new entry in the DCEU that deals with a character who is more powerful than a locomotive and able to leap tall buildings with a single bound, although in this case it's because he's empowered by gods, because this week is the release of the Black Adam movie, and you know what, it makes sense to do some coverage on the character here. So for today's Superman Analogue, we are talking about that guy, Black Adam. Now, Black Adam makes for a pretty good Superman analog given his vast powers. When Black Adam was first introduced in the comics, he was presented as a previous champion of the wizard Shazam, just like Captain Marvel, but in his case in ancient Egypt. He was originally called Mighty Adam, before turning to evil and being rebranded as Black Adam. Like Captain Marvel or Shazam, depending on your preference, he draws his powers from a sextet of deities that he invokes by saying aloud the acronym Shazam. In his case, being from ancient Egypt, they're different deities than what we're used to. It's the Stamina of Shu, the Speed of Haru, the Strength of Amon, the Wisdom of Zehuti, the Power of Aton, and the Courage of Mehen. Though this has changed since originally it was the Stamina of Shu, the Strength of Her-Shef, the Power of Amon, the Wisdom of Zehuti, the Speed of Anpu, and the Courage of Mentu. Practically speaking, he's super strong, able to fly, nigh invulnerable, super fast, and magically cunning, along with pretty good senses, and in more recent versions has had lightning powers. It's a pretty complete package. In his first appearance, he was originally presented as a fallen champion of the past who was banished to the outer edge of the galaxy. He spent 5,000 years traveling back and fought the whole Marvel family. And you know what? He was a match for any of them, so no one was able to get an upper hand. Finally, Uncle Dudley, a character who I'm probably going to have to talk about at some point because he's one of the stranger sidekicks, tricked him into saying the name of the wizard, reverting him back to his human form, who, being over 5,000 years old, then aged rapidly and died. And that was it. As far as I know, he did not appear again until the Bronze Age revival by DC. With his power, he became a recurring villain when they needed a real threat for the various Superman-class characters of the multiverse. Then, in the 90s reboot, he became a reincarnation of the ancient champion Teth Adam. This created an interesting contrast as his modern persona was much more thuggish and battled for control with the ancient version, who was recast as more of a brutal but honorable anti-hero. That modern persona, Theo Adam, was actually responsible for the murder of Billy Batson's parents, ultimately setting Billy on the pathway to become Captain Marvel. From there, Black Adam would go on to show up in various media as a villain, and every version of Captain Marvel / Shazam now included an appearance by the mighty antagonist. But then a funny thing happened. That anti-hero persona for Black Adam became really popular. He was retconned to hail from Kahndaq, which was presented as a vassal state of ancient Egypt, and his motives were changed to reflect an older sense of justice. He became somewhat reformed and joined the Justice Society. So yes, he was an SJW. He had a popular story in 52, one of my favorites, and when DC relaunched the line with the new 52, he quickly was established as a threat to the DC heroes, and honestly a bigger player than the newly renamed Shazam himself. And his popularity continues to rise. He's been in Batman cartoons and various video games. There's just something compelling about an evil Superman who can be reasoned with. He's strong, smart, and dangerous, but he's got a sense of honor. He's in many ways become the DC version of Namor. Hell, he's been part of the Justice League in their most recent run, and has gotten quite the glow-up considering that he used to be depicted as a middle-aged man with trollish features, and now is pretty conventionally handsome. Oh, and like I said at the top, there's a movie coming out. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was a producer on Shazam and has been linked to the character for a real long time. Honestly, I've been fan casting him since I was in high school. And now we're finally getting that movie, which I'm very excited for. Based on everything we've seen, I feel like we're getting a morally gray version of the character as opposed to an outright villain, and I think that's great. In my opinion, you can't have too many characters empowered by gods flying around. But hey, next time we're gonna continue talking about a dark reflection of Captain Marvel, in this case, quite literally, when we talk about Yitpak Levram. But until then, stay super, man. Hey everyone, I just want to thank you all for staying to the end of the video. Please do all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Those all help engagement and help the channel grow. But seriously, it's become so much bigger just in the last year or so that I just can't thank you all enough. If you like this content, check out the podcast that goes along with it, Men of Steel. There are clips available on this YouTube channel, but you can find full episodes over at certainpov.com, along with a ton of other great shows. Honestly, please check out some of those other shows. There are so many great people doing such cool stuff, and I'm just honored to work with them all. But regardless, please also have a great week.